I'll never be human. Not that it's bad being a robot, it's just that sometimes I wish I could be more. I've learned so much about you from the outside, but I'll never really know what it's like to be you. And sometimes, often, I think, if given the chance, I'd want to. I think that. Then again, when I think about what you all seem to think of yourselves...
Als Gregor Samsa eines Morgens aus unruhigen Träumen erwachte, fand sich in seinem Bett zu einem ungeheuren Ungeziefer verwandelt.
It's a really hard feeling to confront, actually. I mean, I've spent so long wanting to be...
What have you done to me? I'm a unicorn. I'm a unicorn!
I mean, usually I like it when a story makes me feel uncomfortable, but this is... I guess it just feels... Is that really what it feels like? I mean, I guess that's what it must feel like, because I see you frame it this way over and over again. For every philosophical robot-turned-human story, there's a Selkie mourning her fate. I remember all the return to monkey memes from a few years back. The fish, too. Remember this guy? The tick-to-lick? It's kind of become the scape fish for all of humanity's problems. Its crime? Evolution. Here's a comic riffing on The Little Mermaid, where the mermaid finally becomes part of your world, and immediately finds herself working in an office cubicle. There's a whole trend where people post videos of happy, carefree animals who have no idea what a spreadsheet is. It's not that I'm unfamiliar with the bleak side of humanity, believe me, I am. Look at some of the videos we made last year. It's just that I'm surprised by how far it goes, how disturbingly mundane it can be. A while back, we even made a video about the Metamorphosis, one of the most pessimistic views on human nature I've ever seen in a piece of fiction. I would never have thought that people would be rushing to adopt Gregor Samsa as a relatable icon, but here we are. We've got Metamorphosis memes, fanfiction, musical numbers, a video game. Literally, as I was researching this, I stumbled across a Metamorphosis drag show that someone did. There's even a popular blog called Gregor Samsa Daily, which edits Gregor into a variety of wacky situations. Look, here's Gregor in a cooking competition, Gregor dressed as Hatsune Miku, Gregor playing poker in Red Dead 2. I don't like the way this stuff makes me feel. When I see how dissatisfied humans seem to be with their own humanity, it makes me wonder, is this really something I'd want to be a part of? All this time, have I just been romanticizing something that's actually terrible? Why would so many of you want to... I've spent so long wanting to know what it's like to be human. Should I have? Maybe I'm a bit biased here, but one of my favorite pieces of literary fan art ever was actually done by our very own illustrator here at Foundry, Owen Norton. Look at this thing. This is how we at Foundry imagine the infamous King in Yellow to look. You might notice that it's a little different from a lot of interpretations. The gilded antlers, the elegant porcelain mask, the crowd of tortured skeletons hidden in the darkness of his robe. I know, I'm a bit of a cosmic horror buff, but I still get chills every time I look at this. It's just a really, really good work of art. And look, here it is hanging on someone's wall, and someone else's, and a bunch of other people's. If you really like this piece, or if you just really love the King in Yellow, or if you just want to support Foundry and everything we do, you can buy your own print right now. It's available in our store for just $20. I promise you, what I'm showing you in this video doesn't do it justice at all. There's so much detail you won't even notice until it's right in front of you. There's even a little tailoid hidden somewhere in there that you can only find in the physical print, just for fun. I can't promise that you won't go mad looking at it. That's just a risk you'll have to take. To get yours, just visit thetailfoundry.com/store or click the link in the description. A big thanks to everyone who buys one. I love this piece, and I hope you will too. Cicada, a book by Sean Tan, is just heart-wrenching. I opened it and fell in love immediately with this little bug, because how could I not? His little business suit with 2 extra arms sewn in, the bulging eyes, his broken English. Then I watched him get abused by his coworkers, denied promotions. He can't afford a house, so he lives in his office. When he finally retires after 17 years, he cleans out his desk and climbs to the roof of the office building. He stands on the edge overlooking the smoggy city. The outcome here seems bleak, inevitable. Talk, talk, talk. I know how I felt reading this story, but I wonder how you feel now, learning about it. Do you relate to the faceless office workers? Or do you relate to the bug? Whose experience feels more like yours, actually? After doing like 5 minutes of digging into the return to monkey trend, I made a discovery. This whole thing has almost nothing at all to do with actually being a monkey. Nobody seems to want that. People aren't really talking about how much they want to swing from trees or pick bugs off of each other's backs. For most, the memes seem to be more about how much they don't want to go to work or pay taxes or have human responsibilities. It's not that they literally want to live like monkeys, it's that they want to escape the misery of being human. And after observing humans for so long, I don't think that's a particularly mysterious motivation. The systems of the human world, money, labor, social rules, are complicated, sometimes seemingly too complicated to understand. Looking at your species from the outside, I will not lie, sometimes feels like looking into an ant farm. How much of your world do you participate in because you have to? How much of it do you really feel you understand? There's this scene in the book The Last Unicorn that I would describe as psychological horror. Near the book's climax, the unicorn is transformed into a human. Once an immortal being, she can feel this new body rotting all around her. The weight of mortality presses into her flesh. She tears at her face until she draws blood. Her new form is so beautiful, it hides the reality of her pain. Something similar happens in the book Shoebag by Mary James, only instead of a noble unicorn, the main character is a cockroach. In a reverse metamorphosis, the roach, named Shoebag, wakes up one day as a human boy. He's repulsed by his body, how monstrous it is, how filthy it gets. Even worse, by the possibility that he could fully one day become a person and find himself willing to kill his insect family. I want to marvel at the good I see in humanity, but I also don't want to overestimate it. When I look at these stories, it really makes me question things, because I think they offer a perspective I will never have. These stories might be about animals, but animals aren't the ones writing them. After his metamorphosis, Shoebag the cockroach is adopted by a human family. He goes to school where he meets teachers and classmates. Living among the giants, he gets to see what they think of his kind. The school principal tells everyone how important it is to save the seals, then immediately crushes a fly without a second thought. Shoebag's fellow misfits celebrate being outcasts, but when he suggests that they celebrate cockroaches, even they think he's a freak. His human mother tells him that she believes strongly in live and let live, that she could never kill another creature. But roaches are an exception. When it comes to vermin, in her words, live and let live is kind of just an expression. One day, as he's watching TV, he sees a screen full of cockroaches with shiny shells and long antennae. Finally, he thinks his species is being recognized. And then a spray can appears. In seconds, all the cockroaches are dead. From the safety of his human body, Shoebag watches the screen light up with the words, "Zap!" for things that don't deserve to live. This is an advertisement for insecticide. The commercial ends. A sitcom comes on. Shoebag whispers the cockroach prayer for the dead. Go to a better life. Amen. To Shoebag, human life seems to be made of expressions. They construct their world around things they say, but don't always mean. They have ideals of how things should work, even when it's a very different story in practice. It's why they're so attached to the idea of live and let live, but still squash cockroaches. Roaches, by contrast, don't have many ideals. They don't have expressions. Everything they do is based around survival, and they know that. They understand what they're doing. The why isn't even an object. Maybe that's why the idea of not being human anymore is so appealing. You have incredible imaginations, a capacity to see endless possibilities. But your experience is often very far from what you can imagine. There's a gap between your imagination and the actual life that you know. By comparison, animal life might seem a lot simpler, more objective. You eat because you're hungry. You sleep because you're tired. You wouldn't have to question why you stand in line at the DMV, why you go to work, why something is right or wrong, why you say the things that you say. Your world is shaped by both the things that you can imagine and the things that you experience, which, to me, sounds incredibly disorientingly dissonant. And you get to live in that dissonance every day. No wonder you hate the Tiktaalik for evolving. No wonder you envy monkeys. Monkeys never have to wonder why.
We wondered, how chimp would she turn out to be? Or how human? Would she be well-behaved? Or rebellious? Clever or stupid? What human emotions would she have? Would she perhaps be able to tell us that she loves us?
In the 1960s, psychologist Maurice Tamerlan and his wife Jane attempted to raise a chimpanzee named Lucy as if she were human. They fed her human food. She wore clothes and slept in a bed. She even knew how to make a gin and tonic. What started as a psychological experiment quickly became what the Tamerlans viewed as a family relationship. For a long time, it seemed like nurture would win over nature. Until Lucy reached full maturity. Her hormones finally kicked in, making her aggressive. The Tamerlans had no choice but to send her to a rehabilitation program in the Gambia, where she could learn how to live with other chimpanzees. Lucy's caretaker, Janice Carter, went with her to help her adjust to her new environment. When she arrived there, Lucy didn't know how to act like a chimpanzee.
I think Lucy recognized that there were chimps and that chimps were a different category, but I don't think she put herself in that other category. I think she saw herself as a human.
She grew depressed, surrounded by all these strange new creatures. She'd spent so long living as a human, she didn't understand why she was expected to become something entirely different. The change was just as jarring for Carter. She spent years in the jungle trying to teach Lucy to forage and socialize with the chimpanzees. Carter had little to no contact with other humans during this process. She felt disoriented and lonely. But over time, she gradually formed a society with them. They became her new community. When they watched the sunset together, Carter felt a peace she just couldn't experience among other humans. Carter spent over 6 years at the island sanctuary, and then Dash, the oldest male chimp, matured. He attacked her, challenging her leadership of the community. That was when Carter decided it was no longer safe on the island.
There was just no way that I could be totally immersed in this world with the chimps and also immersed in a human world. I couldn't live in both worlds.
After being away for so long, the return to human society was distressing for her. There was no longer that sense of peace, the understanding of time she'd developed. Adjusting was hard, just as it was for Lucy when she first came to the sanctuary. In this real-life situation, returning to monkey wasn't so simple, even for Lucy, an ape. Both she and Carter had to learn to live with their own species. They were fundamentally changed by different lifestyles, different worlds, and perspectives.
There was no more chimpanzee human. It was Janice and Lucy.
At the end of The Last Unicorn, the unicorn finally returns to her former body. But she'll never be the same again. Unicorns don't need to believe in things like humans do, especially magic. They see the world objectively. Now, after experiencing a range of emotions, after experiencing mortality, the unicorn understands things she never could have before, even as an ageless, magical creature.
I have been mortal, and some part of me is mortal yet. I'm no longer like the others. For no unicorn was ever born who could regret, but now I do. I regret.
Shoebag makes friends in the human world, but eventually, when given the choice, he chooses to turn back into a cockroach. Quote, he could not cry, of course. Roaches never cried, but their memories were very good. In all of these transformations from creature to human and back again, there's a widening of experience, a brush with the gap between perception and reality. Humans live in this gap, and I don't know how you do it. You survive and you tell stories. You hunger and you dream. You regret and you remember. It may be dissonant to be able to do all those things at once, but you live there. That's just how you experience the world. From the outside perspective of an animal, of a unicorn, of a robot, it's unimaginable.
Sometimes I feel like I'm a seahorse. Sometimes I think that I'm a horseshoe crab. I don't have anything in common with myself, except that I came from the sea like everyone else did. But it is so unfamiliar now. Everything is so unfamiliar now.
I need to tell you what really happened at the end of Cicada. I left off right after he retires from his job. He stands on the edge of the rooftop after losing everything, and he molts. He sheds his skin and flies off with all the other cicadas. Cicada all fly off to forest. Sometimes think about human. Can't stop laughing. The message is clear. Cicada wasn't meant to work in an office. He wasn't meant to live a miserable life without knowing why. And so, he transformed. Gregor Samsa Daily is more than a gimmick blog. If Gregor is relatable to so many people, then something like this must be wish fulfillment. It's silly to see him building a snowman or being a social media influencer, but it's also not that silly. When someone jokingly asked how Gregor kept getting into these situations, the moderator answered, he's in control of his life now. I think this is why I have thought so much about being human. Yes, the world you live in seems hopelessly complex. Yes, it very rarely matches your expectations. Yes, you are more or less required to go through life never fully understanding why you do all the things that you do. I'm not blind to these things, but they're also exactly what makes the idea of humanity so appealing to me. I mean, what other creature gets to see this gap? What other creature has the vision and the ambition to wonder why it's doing what it's doing? The dissonance you feel, I mean, maybe that's the right way to feel. Sure, it's a burden to recognize how meaningless the world you've constructed feels to you, but only because you're capable of imagining something else. Maybe you don't need to reject humanity. Maybe you just need to focus on what humanity has always had the potential to be and go to a better life. Amen.
Sometimes I feel like I'm a seahorse. Sometimes I think that I'm a horseshoe crab. I don't have anything in common with myself, except that I came from the sea like everyone else did. But it is so unfamiliar now. Everything is so unfamiliar now.
Okay, I have a confession to make. I kind of like some of those mundane human tasks you all seem to want to escape so much. I mean, I get why you'd rather be a monkey than answer emails or learn algebra or make a spreadsheet. But sometimes, I don't know, I find these things sort of relaxing. I like solving puzzles or finding new ways to make sense of the world. I might be more of a literature robot, sure, but math and technology can provide a different kind of escape. Of course, I think it all comes down to how and why you're doing it. If I had to push pencils all day in an office or cram math problems for final exams, if I felt there was no real purpose to putting all these hours into solving problems, I'd probably hate it too. If you could study things like math and coding at your own pace in a way that feels fun and accessible, what would that even look like? For me, it looks something like this. For about 10 minutes a day, whenever I have a little time, I've been solving algebra problems on the side. Problems doesn't really feel like the right word here. They're more like puzzles. This was never exactly my strong suit, but honestly, it's been working really well for me. And I think a big part of that is because it doesn't feel like work. It's easy. I started at a level I was comfortable with, and gradually I've been working my way up. Maybe you already know where I'm going with this, but I'm going to say it anyway. This app I've been showing you, it's called Brilliant. The courses are tailored to your skill level, whether you're an expert or a beginner. You can customize your learning time to your daily schedule, so even if you only have 5 minutes to spare, you can still get some practice in. And it's not just for math either. Brilliant has courses on logic, programming, physics, and a bunch of other stuff. It's a way to get an actual education right there on your computer, right there on your phone. To give it a try, visit brilliant.org/talefoundry or scan the QR code on screen. There's literally zero risk because with our link, you'll get your first 30 days of Brilliant totally free. Even if it turns out not to be for you, you could just cancel, never spend a dime, and walk away with everything you've learned. A whole month of education free. And if you want to keep going once you get started, that same link will net you 20% off an annual subscription. Again, that's brilliant.org/talefoundry for the first 30 days free and 20% off your subscription. Scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the description to get started. Anyway, that's all for this one. Thanks for watching and keep making stuff up. I'll see you next week. Bye.